You know, people like this. They never ask for respect, yet they receive it automatically. They never chase attention, yet the moment they enter a room, the atmosphere shifts. They never try to explain their value, yet everyone around them instinctively treats them as important. What's unsettling is that they don't appear to be trying. They're not loud, they're not aggressive, they're not constantly proving themselves, and yet somehow they control the tone of every interaction. This isn't money. I've seen people with nothing in their bank account who carried this power effortlessly. It isn't physical attractiveness. I've watched completely average-looking individuals command rooms filled with people who looked objectively superior. And it isn't intelligence either. Some of the smartest minds I know are ignored their entire lives. What these people possess cannot be seen directly, but it is felt immediately. It's invisible, and it reshapes every interaction they enter. Here's what shocked me when I finally understood it. This principle is not modern. It doesn't come from social media, psychology, or self-help culture. It has been hiding in plain sight for over 500 years. Niccolo Machiavelli described it with unsettling precision. The most influential people in the world still use it daily, often unconsciously. Meanwhile, the vast majority of people live their entire lives without ever realizing this force exists. Today, you're going to understand exactly what this hidden trait is. More importantly, you'll learn how to begin developing it immediately. But there's a warning. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You'll start noticing, almost instantly, who has real power in any room and who is merely performing. You'll understand why some people get what they want with minimal effort, while others struggle endlessly and still get ignored. You'll recognize fake dominance, borrowed confidence, and loud insecurity the moment it appears. This is the point where perception permanently changes. Before we continue, internalize this statement. You are not here to be noticed, you are here to be effective. What you're about to learn is called invisible dominance, and it completely rewrites the rules of influence. From the moment we're young, we're taught a false version of power. We're told power is loud, assertive, expressive, that it comes from speaking more, reacting faster, asserting opinions constantly, and making sure everyone knows where we stand. This version of power looks impressive on the surface, but it is fundamentally weak. Loud power is compensation. People who constantly assert themselves are often trying to protect something fragile inside. They dominate conversations because silence makes them uncomfortable. They react emotionally because they lack internal control. They demand attention because they fear irrelevance. Real power doesn't behave this way. True power doesn't rush. It doesn't explain itself. It doesn't compete for visibility. It doesn't need validation to exist. Instead, it operates quietly, shaping outcomes without drawing attention to the mechanism behind it. Think of the most powerful person you know personally, not a celebrity, not a public figure, but someone you've actually interacted with. Someone whose presence changes the dynamic of a room. Chances are, they're calm, measured, selective with words. They don't dominate every conversation, yet when they speak, people listen. They don't push their authority, yet others defer to them naturally. This is not accidental. These individuals share one critical trait. They are not fully readable. They do not broadcast their inner world. They do not volunteer emotional reactions. They do not explain themselves unnecessarily. Around them, there is always a subtle sense of mystery, not forced, not theatrical, but natural. And that mystery causes people to project depth, competence, and authority onto them. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote that everyone sees what you appear to be, but very few experience what you truly are. This single observation forms the foundation of invisible dominance. You control what is visible. You protect what is essential. Most people do the opposite. They expose everything. Their emotions, insecurities, plans, frustrations, and hopes are on constant display. They narrate their internal state in real time, giving the world a complete instruction manual on how to influence them. Invisible dominance thrives on restraint. It creates space. It withholds immediate clarity. It forces others to observe, interpret, and invest effort in understanding you. While others desperately try to be heard, you become the one people pause for. While others fight for attention, you receive it without asking. This isn't manipulation for the sake of control. It's strategic self-possession. One of the most destructive beliefs modern culture promotes is that complete transparency builds trust. In reality, it builds predictability, and predictability destroys leverage. When people can anticipate your emotional responses, they gain control over your behavior. If they know criticism unsettles you, they'll use criticism as a weapon. If they know praise disarms you, they'll manipulate you with flattery. If they understand your triggers, they'll press them whenever it suits their agenda. Predictability is not honesty, it is vulnerability without protection. The people who consistently get what they want rarely reveal their intentions prematurely. They don't explain every decision. They don't justify their boundaries. They don't react impulsively just to prove authenticity. They choose when to reveal information, and they do so with purpose. Information is not something they give away casually. It is a resource. Every time you overshare, you surrender leverage. Every time you react emotionally in public, you expose a pressure point. Every time you over-explain a decision, you signal that you're seeking approval rather than exercising authority. Being unreadable is not deception. It is discipline. You can be honest without being transparent. You can be authentic without being predictable. You can be emotionally aware without being emotionally exposed. Power begins the moment you stop responding automatically and start choosing your responses deliberately. Machiavelli observed that intelligence reveals itself through restraint. Those who show everything too early become easy to categorize, easy to anticipate, and easy to control. Those who maintain internal privacy retain flexibility, leverage, and authority. Invisible dominance is not about coldness. It is not about manipulation for its own sake. It is about mastery over self, over information, and over timing. It is the ability to remain internally centered regardless of external pressure. It is the capacity to let others reveal themselves while you remain composed. And this is only the first layer. Most people believe influence comes from talking, from expressing opinions, from making sure they're seen, heard, and acknowledged. This belief quietly destroys their power. Here's a truth that changes every conversation you will ever have. The person who asks the questions controls the interaction, not the person who answers them. The moment you internalize this, the entire social hierarchy shifts in your favor. Average people rush to speak. Silence makes them uncomfortable. They feel pressure to contribute, to react, to prove relevance. They fill gaps with noise because quiet feels like vulnerability to them. In reality, silence is leverage when it is intentional. While others talk, they reveal. They expose priorities, fears, motivations, insecurities, and hidden agendas. They give away information freely, not realizing they are negotiating against themselves. The quiet observer, meanwhile, gathers intelligence, not by interrogating, but by listening, not by dominating, but by allowing others to dominate themselves. This is the silent observer's advantage. You are not passive, you are precise. You do not withdraw from conversations, you shape them without force. You ask questions that seem harmless but guide the discussion exactly where you want it to go. You reflect statements back calmly, forcing people to hear their own contradictions. You pause before responding, letting others reveal more than they intended simply to escape the discomfort of silence. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He knew that people betray themselves when given enough space. The more someone speaks, the more predictable they become. The more predictable they are, the easier they are to influence. Powerful people never rush to declare their position. They let others expose theirs first. Silence also alters perception. When you do not compete for airtime, your eventual words carry weight. When you speak less, people listen more. When you are selective with your opinions, others assume your thoughts are valuable. Scarcity applies not only to time and availability, but also to speech. This leads to one of the most uncomfortable truths about influence. People value what is rare and disregard what is abundant. Attention works the same way. If you are always available, always responsive, always agreeable, you become invisible. Your presence blends into the background. Your attention loses value. Your yes means nothing because it cost you nothing. Strategic scarcity reverses this dynamic completely. When you become selectively available, people adjust their behavior around you. They become more intentional. They stop taking your time for granted. They prepare before approaching you. They respect boundaries they once ignored, not because you demanded respect, but because scarcity creates value automatically. This is not about manipulation or playing games. It is about aligning with human psychology instead of fighting it. Everything valuable in the world is limited. Gold, time, attention, access. Your presence should follow the same rule. Machiavelli observed that people judge worth by what they can see and access easily. When access is effortless, value is assumed to be low. When access requires effort, value is assumed to be high. This applies to individuals as much as it applies to resources. You do not need to disappear to create scarcity. You simply stop overgiving. You stop responding immediately to every message. You stop saying yes automatically. You stop rearranging your priorities to accommodate people who have not earned that level of access. When you do show up, your presence is felt. When you speak, your words land. When you engage, people pay attention because they know you are not careless with your energy. Scarcity transforms perception, but scarcity alone is not enough. It must be paired with strategic presence. Most people misunderstand presence. They believe it means showing up everywhere, attending everything, participating in every discussion, and having an opinion on every issue. They think visibility equals influence. In reality, constant presence makes you forgettable. Strategic presence works differently. You choose where you appear. You choose when you speak. You choose when to withdraw. Instead of spreading yourself thin, you concentrate your impact. Instead of being everywhere, you are exactly where it matters. This requires discipline. It means saying no to good opportunities so you can dominate great ones. It means resisting the urge to stay longer than necessary. It means understanding that leaving at the right moment often creates a stronger impression than staying until the end. The person who knows when to exit controls the memory. Machiavelli described the ideal ruler as both fox and lion. The fox recognizes traps, the lion frightens wolves. Strategic presence is knowing when to observe quietly and when to assert control decisively. Sometimes the most powerful move is invisibility. Other times, it is decisive action. Power lies in timing, not volume. When you enter a space intentionally, the energy shifts. When you speak selectively, your words echo. When you act with precision, outcomes change. But when you are everywhere constantly, you become part of the scenery. When you speak endlessly, your words lose meaning. When you react to everything, people stop taking you seriously. True presence is felt, not announced. This brings us to the area where most people completely lose control: emotions. Emotional reactivity is the easiest way to be manipulated. People use praise to lower your guard, criticism to provoke defensiveness, urgency to rush your decisions, guilt to control your behavior, fear to limit your options. If you react emotionally, you surrender authority. Emotional mastery does not mean suppressing emotions. It means refusing to let them dictate your behavior. Your emotions are data, not commands. They tell you something about the situation, but they do not get to decide your response. Most people confuse authenticity with immediacy. They believe expressing every feeling instantly makes them honest. In reality, it makes them predictable and controllable. Machiavelli understood that emotional discipline separates rulers from subjects. Those who cannot control their reactions will always be controlled by those who can. In practice, this looks simple but requires restraint. When someone insults you, you feel the anger but do not display it unless it serves a purpose. When someone flatters you, you accept the praise without becoming dependent on it. When someone pressures you for an immediate decision, you slow down instead of speeding up. The person who remains calm when others become emotional is automatically seen as the authority in the room. When chaos erupts and you stay composed, people look to you for direction. When others panic and you remain steady, your judgment gains weight. Calm is power, and calm is amplified by one of the most underestimated tools available to you: strategic silence. Silence terrifies most people. They interpret it as weakness, awkwardness, or lack of contribution. They rush to fill it with words, explanations, or nervous laughter. This instinct betrays them. Strategic silence is not absence, it is pressure. When you remain silent after making a strong statement, you force others to process it. When you pause before answering a loaded question, you regain control of the exchange. When tension rises and you do not rush to diffuse it, you position yourself above the emotional chaos. Silence forces people to reveal themselves. They speak to escape discomfort. They overshare. They justify. They expose motivations they never intended to disclose. Meanwhile, you gain clarity. This is why silence is dangerous. It gives you an advantage others do not anticipate. It requires confidence most people lack, but once mastered, it becomes one of the most effective tools of invisible dominance. When you finally speak after silence, people listen. Not because you raised your voice, but because you created space for your words to matter. At this point, a critical mistake must be addressed, one that destroys leverage instantly. Never reveal everything you are capable of. Most people believe demonstrating full competence builds credibility. They show all their skills immediately, they reveal all their knowledge, they expose their entire range to prove value. This eliminates mystery and hands others everything they need to neutralize them. Smart individuals reveal capability in layers. They show enough to establish competence, but never enough to remove uncertainty. They keep reserves. They allow others to underestimate them. They understand that surprise is a strategic asset. This applies to skills, resources, connections, and knowledge. You do not lie. You simply do not volunteer unnecessary information. You do not showcase your full arsenal unless the situation demands it. Machiavelli warned that those who ignore how the world actually operates in favor of how it should operate destroy themselves. Complete transparency sounds noble, but it is strategically foolish. When people believe they fully understand you, they stop paying attention. When they believe there is more beneath the surface, they remain engaged, cautious, and respectful. Mystery sustains influence. By now, a pattern should be emerging. Invisible dominance is not about intimidation. It is not about aggression. It is about control over information, emotion, timing, presence, and perception. You are not trying to overpower others. You are positioning yourself so power naturally flows toward you. And this leads to one of the most advanced aspects of invisible dominance: controlled uncertainty. People become careless when they feel certain. They become strategic when they feel uncertain. Powerful individuals create uncertainty in others while remaining internally certain themselves. When people cannot predict your reactions, they hesitate. When they cannot read your intentions, they become cautious. When they do not know exactly where they stand with you, they invest more effort. This does not mean being erratic. Randomness destroys trust. Strategic unpredictability builds respect. Sometimes you respond quickly. Sometimes you take time. Sometimes you are warm. Sometimes reserved. Sometimes you decide immediately. Sometimes you pause. The key is consistency in values, not in behavior. People should always know what you stand for, but never be completely sure how you will act in a given moment. This keeps them engaged, attentive, and respectful. Machiavelli understood that unpredictability creates psychological leverage. It prevents complacency. It forces others to remain alert. Invisible dominance thrives in this space. And now, you are ready for the final transformation. By now, you understand something most people never grasp. Power does not announce itself. It positions itself. It does not argue. It does not explain. It does not chase recognition. It waits, observes, and acts when resistance is lowest. Invisible dominance is not a personality trait. It is not something you are born with or without. It is a strategy. And like any strategy, it can be learned, practiced, and refined. The final step is not understanding. It is integration. To become the hidden force, you must first remove the habits that quietly sabotage your influence. These habits feel harmless. They often feel virtuous, but they weaken your position in every interaction. The first habit to eliminate is the need for constant validation. Approval seeking turns you into a reactive instrument. When your sense of worth depends on how others respond, they gain leverage over you. You explain yourself more than necessary. You soften your boundaries. You hesitate when you should act. Power cannot coexist with dependence on external approval. You do not need consensus to be correct. You do not need agreement to be confident. The moment you stop seeking validation, your presence shifts. People sense internal alignment immediately, and alignment commands respect without effort. The second habit to eliminate is over-explaining. Weakness often hides behind excessive clarity. When you justify every decision, you signal uncertainty. When you over-communicate boundaries, you invite negotiation. When you explain yourself to people who are not entitled to explanations, you give away authority. Strong individuals state decisions calmly and move forward. They answer questions when questions are asked. They do not preemptively defend themselves. Silence after a decision is often more powerful than a detailed explanation. The third habit to eliminate is emotional immediacy. Feeling emotions is human. Broadcasting them is optional. Emotional discipline does not mean repression, it means containment. You process privately and respond strategically. The gap between stimulus and response is where power lives. Machiavelli understood that self-control is the ultimate fortress. People cannot manipulate what they cannot predict. They cannot rush what refuses to be rushed. They cannot intimidate what remains internally steady. Once these habits are removed, new behaviors must replace them. The first is deliberate pause. Before responding to anything important, you pause. Not to appear thoughtful, but to actually think. This pause does three things simultaneously. It prevents emotional reactions. It forces others to wait, shifting the power dynamic. And it gives your eventual response weight. The second behavior is asking instead of declaring. Statements reveal your position, questions reveal theirs, questions give you information, statements give away leverage. The more complex the situation, the more valuable information becomes. You are not interrogating, you are guiding. You ask questions that appear neutral but uncover motivations. You clarify assumptions. You let others define their own positions while you remain uncommitted until the landscape is clear. The third behavior is selective availability based on value, not convenience. Your time is not a public resource. Your attention is not free. You decide when and where to engage. Not as punishment, not as a game, but as a reflection of priorities. When people sense that access to you is earned, not automatic, their behavior changes. They prepare more. They respect boundaries. They stop wasting your time. Scarcity reinforces authority without confrontation. The fourth behavior is precision in language. Every word serves a purpose. You remove filler, you remove emotional leakage, you remove unnecessary qualifiers. You speak clearly, calmly, and only when there is something worth saying. Powerful speech is not verbose. It is intentional. Now, There is one final distinction that separates those who understand invisible dominance from those who embody it. You must never reveal everything you can do. This is not about deception. It is about strategic reserve. When others believe they have fully measured your capacity, they stop being cautious. When they believe there is more beneath the surface, they stay alert. You reveal competence gradually. You allow others to underestimate you. You maintain options. Surprise remains available to you. Flexibility remains yours. Machiavelli warned that those who live by ideals rather than reality ruin themselves. Complete transparency sounds noble. In practice, it is self-sabotage. Mystery sustains influence. Certainty invites control. This leads to the final layer of invisible dominance, controlled uncertainty. People relax when they feel certain. They become careless. They stop trying. They assume outcomes. Uncertainty forces engagement. It sharpens awareness. It prevents complacency. You do not create anxiety. You create ambiguity. You remain consistent in values but flexible in execution. Sometimes you respond quickly. Sometimes you wait. Sometimes you are warm. Sometimes reserved. Your behavior is intentional, not habitual. People should always know what you stand for. They should never be completely sure how you will act. This keeps them attentive, respectful, engaged. Invisible dominance is not aggression. It is gravity. You do not pull people toward you. You position yourself so they move naturally. When you enter a room, you do not compete for attention. You allow attention to settle. When you speak, you do not try to persuade. You state. When you leave, you do not linger. You exit at the point of highest impact. The person who knows when to withdraw often controls the memory. Over time, something subtle happens. People begin to treat you differently without knowing why. They consult you without you asking. They defer without you demanding. They measure their words more carefully around you, not because you intimidated them, but because your presence signals control. This is the hidden force at work. You influence outcomes without announcing intent. You shape dynamics without confrontation. You maintain authority without resistance. While others fight for position, you operate above the struggle. Most people will never reach this level. They are too busy performing power instead of building it. Too focused on being seen to understand that real influence works quietly. Too invested in being liked to realize that respect is earned through restraint, not exposure. But you are no longer operating blindly. From this point forward, every interaction becomes a choice. You can react or you can respond. You can explain or you can state. You can reveal or you can reserve. You can chase attention or you can command it by refusing to compete. True power does not need to be proven. It only needs to be positioned. If this understanding shifted how you see influence, acknowledge it. Let it settle. Use it deliberately. And remember this principle above all others. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, the smartest, or the most aggressive. It is the one who cannot be read, predicted, or controlled. That is invisible dominance. If this video changed how you think about power, influence, and control, support the channel. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you want strategies that work in reality, not theory. And carry this with you into every interaction from now on. You are not here to perform power. You are here to embody it.